Hello all. We'll continue on now with our dino and its animation. Where we ended was with the dino with the armatures indicated like this. And you could have them either be stick or be bone, looks like a kind of a rectangular kind of thing, or an envelope that looks like this. I like stick, but I have to tell you that on the previous video I told you all to do something incorrectly. There is a way that rotation is done, and it's with respect to a particular pivot point. And it turns out down here at the bottom there is an indicator where it says pivot point. So the pivot point is shown nicely by the octahedron bones as pivoting right around the point here. So this bone, if we want to move it back and forth, would pivot around that point. This bone would pivot around this point, and so forth. So I had incorrectly started at the end instead of starting in the middle and going that way. So one technique is to simply delete these and put in those two bones properly. So let me see if I can go back to edit mode and delete the bone, and then delete this bone too. Now the nice thing about this is it shows you that you can easily modify things once you realize they're incorrect. So I'm going to add a bone back here by extruding this bone this away and extruding this bone that away. Now they're probably not on there right, and they're not. So I have to, just like we did before, move them back into place. There we go. Okay, I think it's pretty good. It's good enough anyway. We can now animate this, that I've got everything tied to this central point. And I look back at stick and see this. Now, let me get the head to move and the tail to move at different times and show you how you add those up. And I'll leave it to your ingenuity to do the legs at some point. So, I'll move back to pose mode. Well, no, I won't move back to pose mode. I think what I'll do is to go back to object mode, and I'm going to now parent the mesh to the armature. This is very important to be able to do, because remember, we made the mesh of the dino first, and then we made the armature to fit inside of it. Some systems, the human systems, will do it automatically for you, but not these animals don't seem to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the plane there, which is our dino, in fact. And I guess if I wanted to edit that and call it dino, I could just rename it and call it dino. And then it would look a little bit better. So I've got the dino now selected. And I want next to hold down the shift key and select the armature. There they're both selected in two different colors. And if I now press Control P, which is a bit obscure, and you'll see a reference to that in the wiki, but I hold down the control and press P, it says I'm going to parent to the armature with automatic weights. It's done. It moved dino to under the armature. See it there? Very nice. However, completely obscure, but you wouldn't know that unless you looked it up in the manual. But there we go. We've got it now. So let's begin to animate. Animation is found in this window down here at the bottom, which appears once you start to do posing. So if I do posing at this point, it means I can move these bones around. So my objective now is to have a, I don't know, a timeline that extends not up to the whole 250 frames, but maybe, oh, well, let's just say 60. So I can edit that right here. You can see the timeline is that. And so when I play it, it'll go through this timeline. So if I press it, you see, not a thing happens because I haven't done anything to pose the animations. Let's move this back to 0, and let's move the neck. I'll tell you what, let's select all of these bones as they are. We'll always start right here so I can be in the armature and select all the bones. Notice they turn blue. If I select them and then press I for insert animation, I can say rotate and locate. That's the rotation and location, rather. Keeps track of where they all are. So every time the timeline is here, it'll bring all those bones back to this same place. If I move out, say halfway, maybe 30, and I'd like this bone right here, and I click on it, right click on it, PC, left double click, or click with 2 fingers on the Mac, and now I can rotate this down. Let's suppose I rotate it down to there. And then I press I for insert, the location of rotation, and then I rotate it back up. No, I don't want to do that yet. Let me move it back up here and rotate it, up to here, and say insert, loc, and then back up to close to where it was. Maybe there. Something like that. Now, if I press the play button down here, it's going to rotate. Didn't do perfectly because I didn't get my places just right, but I can move them around. But that looks okay as an animation. But let me stop it. Now the question is, what about the rest of these bones? Well, there's that one. Let me click it. I want it to look like it's wagging its tail. Oh, maybe I'll go side to side with this bone and say start it wagging back here, and it'll rotate over to when it's down, it'll rotate on one direction. So let me see. If I say about there, and I move this bone over to here, right, and I say I, look, and then I go back all the way over there, and I say insert. Oh, I didn't want to do that yet. I want to move up here and say locate and come back and then say insert. And then finally, let's see, I might move it up a bit or back over to near the center by the time I get out to nearly 50 frames. And I will insert that. And we're almost home here. All right. Now if I play it at this point, oh, isn't that something? You can see them both moving at the same time. So this is a frame-by-frame animation, keyframe animation. And the darn thing works. Look what we learned. It's key to have the armature be the parent of the mesh, so that when you move any of the bones with the armature, they will move the mesh along with it. It's also key, and we learned as the mistake I made earlier, that you have to have a pivot point. And the pivot point is the default are the individual origins. So I had to turn these two bones around from what I showed you in the previous video and get them to point out. Otherwise, the whole dinosaur would go up and down with a pivot point over here. instead of this going up and down. All right, I think we have now successfully animated this, and we're ready in the next video to take this and move it into Unity. So good luck with you trying to animate this. I might indicate that you can move the whole dinosaur along. And so if you really wanted to make a nice animation, you take it and move it from one point to another point to another point, and all these bones would be in different directions, say like a walking animation. And once you're through making a beautiful dinosaur, you've gotten into one of the reasons for why people selling animated animals on the App Store are charging such high prices. I think we saw one that was $1,000 for a really well animated set of animals. You might look at that and just see what they come as. But this kind of animation, it really does take some effort to do it, to get it just right. So you can spend days and days doing this. But let's see if we can get it, at least this one that's animated partially. And I'll save it as save as dino animate.blend. Maybe I ought to say .blend animate fixed, because we fixed that bone on it, and you saw how to fix it, which was a good thing. So there we go. I've saved it, and we'll pick up here with the saved version next time.